all over this book.
No,
Yawn, yawn, yawn.
don't. No.
Honestly, it was boring. The parts that weren't atrocious were boring.
Hang on, we gotta banter our way into this because I already know this is gonna be. We had different feelings,
Yeah, the
which is
worst book I've ever
fun.
read. I don't literally, genuinely, physically, in my soul, have never read anything worse than that book.
I actually found it very compelling.
It was so uncompelling, I died. And then I was only compelled to come back to life to just like burn the book and then go back into the grave.
It's not one that I think I would reread it from like an uh sort of academic point of like if I really wanted to like go back and break it down more from like that.
That
Sure.
would be a way, that would be like the only time I would ever
Yeah,
revisit it.
I
Because I mean,
wouldn't.
obviously, you
Right.
see tropes from it that have persisted. But I think I also, it was a disservice to read Whitney My Love before this one, because that one I really enjoyed the story and I enjoyed everything besides really the last like 50 pages. And this one, it just started and then it never stopped, but I never started
I might
enjoying
actually
it.
have enjoyed this one more.
Oh my god.
This one is weird for me because it's similarly to Prisoner of My Desire. There were like
Oh, but see, that one I
things
wanted to
that I
keep
really
reading.
enjoyed and things that I found very compelling while also being mixed with like those kind of old school elements that
Yeah.
haven't aged well. All of the like, glorification of the old South and the
Yeah.
enslaved character, like all of that stuff that is really difficult to read now.
Yeah.
But there were also some things that I just found so fascinating. I do think it helped also that I really did go into it with the mindset of like analyzing it from a historical point of view
Mhm.
of like
I
why was
yeah.
this kind of the first really successful one of its kind?
Mhm. Which is baffling to me because I would never
It
have
was
read
not
another
baffling
book.
to me at all.
I would have been like, "Wow, I don't know how to read suddenly. I'll be illiterate for the rest of my life."
See, I was the opposite. I think that
Ugh.
if like the romance genre as we know it didn't really exist and I was suddenly given that, I I feel like I really understood why. Like obviously there are things I didn't like, but I got why it was
Yeah.
so.
It just has everything I hate. Horrible family, horrible hero, horrible villain, horrible like villainized woman who is horrible. Horrible ending, horrible everything, horrible voices for characters that were just grating on your ears. I like Ashford McNabb. I liked her like narration for the most part, but her villains, which she's done in the Maiden Lane series,
But
sounds so
but they're
horrid.
villains.
I know they're villains, but like my poor ears bleed.
Well, right, but you're
Ugh,
but that's on purpose.
I
They're
know, but
villains.
like it it just made it more painful. Like so much more painful.
I thought it was very fascinating. I've also been trying to do more research into bodice rippers, which I was not
Mhm.
as I wanted to do more of it before this podcast, and then with my whole
Mhm.
family being in, and I finished the book like an hour ago, so there just simply was not as much time to do
Mhm.
it as I wanted. But I read a little bit and then like read some reviews of it. Also, the foreword in the
Yeah, audiobook.
audiobook with Ashford McNabb, I thought the foreword was really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
But I don't know, well, okay, here's the other thing. As I was reading it, I was like, I bet that Hannah and this might be off because sometimes I make predictions about your reading that are just so completely wrong because 'cause you're an enigma. Um, but as I was reading, I was
Call
like,
me
I
Enigma.
bet that Hannah's gonna hate this for the same reason that you hated, Flowers from the Storm. Which is that it's just so like, so much there's so many bad things happening to someone the whole time, that it makes it, like, not pleasant to read.
Ye Yeah, I would say that's like 50-50 because at least in Flowers from the Storm, I don't think I hated either of the main characters.
Sure.
Like, I felt bad for them. And, like, I just was like, "I'm a coward, I need to get out of this,"
Sure, sure.
like, first half of the book.
Sure.
In this one, I hated that man so
See, I
much.
thought he was really interesting.
Ew! Ew,
I
he
mean,
is
sure, ew
horrible.
indeed. I thought his growth was very interesting,
There was no growth. He blamed her at the end. He was like, "You've done all this to me. This is your fault."
I
I
disagree. I think he was
I
saying, like, "You have wreaked vengeance on me because
and, like,
now I'm
okay,
so
you
in
could
love
read
with
it
you."
that way
What do you
because,
mean?
like,
That's what he said.
because I've read other things like that, but I don't physically believe that that man is capable of being a good
That
person
is
or having
literally
those
what he
feelings.
said. That he
It's what he
suffered.
he didn't suffer at all.
Emotionally, he did.
Oh my god, he
The
didn't!
whole second half of that book was him being like, "I am so obsessed with this woman and I wanna have sex with her so badly, but I can't because she hates me and I'm just gonna be over here suffering."
And he was like, "Why does she hate me?" "Sir, I don't know."
I mean,
I
I think he
mean
knew why. I think he was aware.
I mean, the thing is that he, like, joked about I really I hate him so much.
Let's back up. I feel the need to give a disclaimer. Welcome to Romance Your TBR.
Yeah.
Today we are discussing our old school lesson on The Flame and the Flower by
Mhm.
Kathleen Woodiwiss, which is, of course, published in
Terrible.
1972. No, published in 1972.
Mhm.
The perhaps not necessarily that. Well, I mean, the first really popular
Yeah, it's the first people, like, could be claimed as the first, like,
romance novel
published
as we know
paperback,
it.
like, romance, yeah, 'cause she
Right,
tried to get it in hardcover and it didn't sell, so then
right.
she sold it to Avon in paperback.
It's essentially the genesis of the romance genre as it is
Uh-huh.
today. Is
Yeah, there were a
what
few others
it's generally
before.
accepted as.
Mhm, but this one, like, sold, like, 2,000,000 copies
Sure. When
in, like,
also
the
it's the
first.
first, like, popular anyway, sexually explicit one
Yeah.
because a lot of the I mean, like, Harlequin, Mills, and
Mhm.
Boone were, like, not sexually explicit,
Mhm.
so I feel the need to give a disclaimer that we do not in any way condone rape.
No.
I
There's a
I wanna
review
talk
I know.
about the bodice ripping elements without people being like, "Wow, is she okay morally with rape?" I am not. Anything that is not a yes is not consent.
There is one review that has, like, the entire, like, length of my phone screen
Oh, no.
of content warnings, and just, like, of everything that just, like, is in this book that is problematic, and it is so long,
I mean,
and it is valid. They are all I mean, there is so much in this book
isn't it
that
mostly
I'm
just,
just
like, rape and murder?
racism,
Oh, yeah, shared it. Yep,
fat
yep.
phobia,
Oh,
like,
yeah, we
there's
can
a
get into
lot
the
going
body.
on, ableism,
Sure.
like, there is just so much,
Sure.
and
All accurate. All
yeah, if I could adopt my favorite trope, amnesia, I would will it upon myself, knock myself in the head, and like, forget about this book. Like, I would that would be, like, if I could do it, if I could do one thing, had a genie and had one wish, forget I ever read it, 'cause pain was had.
I am glad that I read it. I just from, like, as a romance reader, I like to know the history, I like to know where things come from. I like having that under my belt
Mhm.
and be able to see, like, why it was so popular, where the seeds kind of
Mhm.
started. Um, and then to be able to say, "Look how much the genre has developed since 1972."
Mhm.
Um, but I mean, I don't know if bodice rippers are for me. I'd like to read some more to see the, like, different authors' approaches.
Yeah. I agree.
But I think that's one of the like, I do not blame anybody who is not interested or has read bodice rippers and doesn't like them. Because I think that's just here's
Yeah, and
no,
yeah.
go.
I was just gonna say, I think it's also just, like, the length for me.
It was long.
Like,
It
they're
was long.
just so freaking long, and, like, again, like, Whitney, My Love, like, I wanted to keep reading that. Like, it wasn't a chore, whereas this felt like a chore that I had to complete to then, like, read Devil in Spring, and I was like, "Where are these, like where's this corset and these, like, laces? Like, when's that gonna come into my life? Because, like, I have to get through this thing first."
I do think it's when was the pub year for Devil in Spring? If
Devil in
you happen to
Spring?
know that off the top of your head, I'm going to look because I assume you don't. I that would be a
No.
wild thing for I mean, not wild, but I'd be,
No.
like, really impressed if you were just like, "Oh, 2000."
Honestly, I could have really impressed you, but no,
Wait, Devil in Spring,
2017.
or are you rereading the Ravenels?
Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
so I'm
In
on
my head, I heard Scandal in
I
Spring.
think that's 2006. I think.
Okay, Devil in Spring is 2017. I
Yes,
thought you were talking about
Angel
Scandal
in
in Spring.
Spring.
Because
I read that was my birthday treat to myself. I reread that for my birthday. It was great. 2006. So I did know.
okay.
So
I do think the difference between 2006, 1972, that's a long time for
yeah.
the genre to have developed, but I
Yeah.
love seeing the difference in hero archetypes
Yeah.
because you see far more, like, softer cinnamon roll heroes.
Yeah.
I say now, but in, like, kind of the recent,
Mhm.
past 20 years or however long.
Well, yeah, that's why like you're the one Laura Kinsale
Ooh,
you read with that virgin dude.
I just realized I shattered my screen protector on the lower
Oh
corner.
no.
It's fine, it's just a screen
Oh
protector, I'll
no.
swap it out, but, like, hello? Oh, maybe part of my phone.
Shattered.
Nope.
Shattered like my soul.
Nope, it's just the screen protector. I wonder when I
Ooh.
did that. I dropped my phone like 4 times today, so it could have been
Ah.
any one of those. Anyway, what were you saying? Oh,
The
shoot.
funny thing is we have this recorded, so we would know. I What was I saying?
You were talking about a book we'd read.
Yes, your Laura Kinsale one. The
Yes.
one with the virgin and the woman who wanted to sleep.
The one with the virgin and the woman who wanted to sleep. He's not a virgin.
Or celibate.
Yeah. Yeah, for my lady's heart. Yes.
Yeah.
She was a woman who really wanted to sleep, and I respected it.
Like that one, like I feel like finding a cinnamon roll, not necessarily like cinnamon roll, but just like not
The not alpha male.
yeah, is just so rare, especially in older stuff. And so
Mhm.
it's nice when you can like find that, or even like just a softer book like Indigo. Like that romance to me felt very soft. Um, Lord of Scoundrels to like some extent. That's not like a soft book,
He's a
but
pretty
like
alpha hero.
yeah, he's the alpha hero, but just like I guess just something. I mean that one
I think
goes
it's
off the
just really well
rails.
written.
Yeah, I mean that could
Um,
also just be the case.
well, but I also think it's I feel like they talk about this is just kind of a general thing that is accepted, but I feel like they talk about it a lot on Fated Mates because that's where I hear it the most, but this idea that,
Mhm.
like, particularly older romances have the satisfaction for women of, like, defeating the patriarchy, and the way that they do that is, like, using their femininity to break down the toxic masculinity of a dangerous, like, alpha male type.
Mhm.
And so it makes sense to me that especially the earlier books are these alpha males.
Mhm.
And then it's only later that you start
Yeah.
to see like those kind of softer because I think
Mhm.
the purpose of the genre shifts a little bit. We've gotten
Mhm.
to a point where like we don't necessarily need to read breaking down toxic masculinity in every book anymore.
Yeah, I'd prefer not. Like if I could, I
Well, but that's I
probably
think bodice rippers
yeah.
serve a different readership
Yeah.
than like a
Oh,
standard
for sure.
contemporary romance that's coming
Yeah.
out today.
Mhm.
I've been thinking about this a lot, because I have feelings about bodice rippers. Um, I just think they're so fascinating, and I wanna understand, like, the psyche. I wanna know like, I
Mhm.
wanna get the popularity, and alas, I was not alive in the 1970s, so I can't speak to
No.
the cultural experience other than just, like,
No.
reading about it.
Mhm.
I have mentioned this book before on this podcast, and unfortunately, I can never remember who wrote which essay, but The Dangerous Men and Adventurous Women, an essay anthology from, I wanna say, like, the '90s. Um, it's an essay anthology of these essays written by romance writers in, like, the
Mhm.
'90s. And I don't agree with everything they say, and some of them I have just completely forgotten because they weren't interesting to me, but a few things did stick out to me, and one of the things is at least one of them, probably multiple, are about bodice rippers, and there are lots of different art and I assume bodice rippers' popularity come from, like, a lot of different reasons that all kinda
Mhm.
work together. It's not just the second wave feminist movement, it's not just, like, the changing of the legal handling of rape. It's not just, you know what I mean? Like, there's a
Mhm.
lot of different things that are all contributing to the popularity. The reason that I find most personally compelling and that I kind of relate to is one of the essays, I wish I could remember which one, talks about the idea that like a genre fiction reader is looking for like thrill and to experience like, you know, you're living vicariously through these
Mhm.
characters to get these experiences that you're
Mhm.
either never gonna have or, like, you don't want to have.
Yeah.
And part of that is coming up against your greatest fears and conquering or surviving them. And so for especially women, sexual violence, and particularly in a time like the 1970s, being married to a violent or potentially abusive, dangerous man are like kind of the greatest fears beyond obviously,
Mhm.
you know, like death.
Mhm.
And so to a certain extent, it's like you get to experience, it's like reading horror or something where you get to
This was
experience,
horror.
but you get to experience like
Yeah.
that greatest fear and then
Yeah.
have that feeling of overcoming and surviving it. And then not only
Mhm.
that, but you get to have an HEA. You have a rape survivor who then goes on to live happily and
Mhm.
is not deemed like less worthy of a happily ever after because of it. Again, not saying that it's okay that the hero rapes the heroine.
Yeah.
Gonna keep saying that just in case.
Yeah.
But I just think a bodice ripper is closer to like a thriller or a horror novel in the sense that like it's about confronting your fears and winning and being happy than a like romance today doesn't have that same goal. And I
Mhm. The
don't think that
characters
romance
face their
readers today.
fears. Like, that's, like, the normally the 3rd act is the, like, character
Yeah, but
facing their
usually it's
greatest
like your
fear.
emotional fear. It's not
Yeah.
like I have
Yeah.
been raped and now
Yeah.
must contend with that.
Mhm.
But I just think that like most romance readers are not unless we're talking about dark romance readers, which I am not one, so I would
Yeah.
love to talk to one about it, but I would argue that dark romance is like the descendant of the bodice ripper.
Yeah, there were some people saying that this felt like a dark romance.
And I think that makes sense. I
Mhm.
think that dark romance is tied very closely to
Yeah.
bodice rippers, and I think it's
Yeah.
the same idea of like experiencing things in a safe way that you wouldn't necessarily want
Yeah.
to experience in your real
Which
life.
which makes sense why I don't particularly like this experience is because I like the heroes of dark romance appeal not at all to me.
Sure.
Like, that just is not so, like, the completely, like, alpha, like, hero is just not my thing, really,
Mhm.
so, like, I mean, obviously, Matthew Swift is, like, my favorite Lisa Kleypas hero
Yeah.
out
Yeah.
of, like, all of them, and so, like, I know that, and so it's interesting to go into all of these books
Mhm.
because, again, like, Whitney My Love surprised me, like,
Mhm.
I liked him. I mean, he was terrifying, but I liked him for the most part
Right.
until 50 pages from the end, and so, like, I was pleasantly surprised in that one,
Mhm.
uh, and so, like, this one, I was like, I don't I I didn't know what to I wasn't scared enough for this one, I guess is my thing, because I had a pretty good experience with Whitney, My Love, and so I was like, "Maybe it won't be so bad," but I think when I fundamentally hate a character,
Mm.
there's just no saving that experience. Like, and I mean, I guess I was expecting more from the plot. I was like, they were on this ship for a little bit, and then they were just at his plantation, which was just not. And I
I
was
mean, there
like,
was that
ooh,
whole, like, she got violently ill
yeah.
segment, which, as
And
a
he's
side
like,
note,
I was the one
I didn't take
helping
very many
you.
notes on this book, but I will say one of them is that is one of the, like, my personal favorite fever scenes that I have ever
Mm-hmm.
read. I thought it
Oh,
was written
oh,
in such a like,
jeez.
you just get all of those echoes of, like, things from her past, but also fear, like,
Oh, well, I skipped that. I did
oh,
not care. I was just like in the audiobook. I was like, please get me through this.
oh, I was okay, I was really
No.
fascinated by the way that scene was written.
I was fascinated by how much I was unfascinated by it.
Oh, okay, see, that was, like,
I'm
one of
looking
my
I'm looking at
favorite
my
fever scenes.
I'm looking at my notes and it says I need an exorcism. That was my note. So, like, ooh, and small tongue. She had a delicate tongue. I love when the small tongues come into play. He's like,
I
her small. I'm like, how do you
I
assess
sure do
someone's
have
tongue
no
size?
memory of that, but okay.
I do, yeah. He
I believe you.
monologued a lot.
He did. I did think it was kind of funny. Both of them had some, like, very Shakespearean
Yeah. I
monologues
was like,
going.
are you in acting 101?
It
You
made
are
me laugh.
giving your all. And the way Ashford like narrated it.
Oh, she
I mean,
got into it.
this man was standing naked in his mirror monologuing to himself.
Respect.
And I was
We've all
just
been there, Hannah.
but I was just like, I can't with this man monologuing. it was my 13th, 14th, and 15th reason all in one scene. I was like, this. I mean, it was funny. Like, it was well written in the sense that, like, it felt very classic and, like, very, like, she had a control of the language, but none of the language was what I wanted to be hearing. I did, was it, like, remove your moldy presence from my home? That was a
It
great line.
was. I think that was
That
it.
was fun.
That one did take me out. I
Mhm.
respect that he was
A
not
fiend,
here for
yeah.
Louisa's shit the entire time.
Yeah.
I think some heroes you get, like,
I
they
agree,
kinda
yeah.
let that other woman kinda, like, walk all which
Mhm.
the other woman trope is its own
Yeah,
thing, but also this is, like, the
yeah.
first one of its kind, so we're gonna
Mhm.
take it for what it is. I do respect that from the get-go, he was like, "Shut up. I do not want to deal with you. I will buy your land."
I was like, "Sir, do you really need that land? I would
He
just
really wanted it.
I would not engage. Do not engage, sir."
He's like, "I feel kinda bad because to be fair, I was engaged to you and then showed up
Yeah,
with a
so
wife."
he did have a little bit of a conscience, but
Sure.
then he was like, "Also, I kinda wanna kill you." Like, I maybe would have if I wasn't pulled away.
And I
And
respect
I mean,
that.
I was right there too. I was like, "I don't wanna be dealing with you, Louisa." And then she was killed. Less satisfaction in
Sure.
that regard.
Sure.
Um, Fiend of a Madman, that was great. That was a great line. I thought a lot of it, like, their dynamic. Have you seen The Great with Elle Fanning?
I've
And,
seen the first season of it
yeah,
a
I
long
haven't seen
time
all of
ago.
it, but, like, it just really felt like their relationship almost, like, that man, like, or I guess Ashford McNabb really sounds like Elle Fanning to me, like, in my head, like,
Okay.
how she did that, and so, like, I just was, like, picturing, like, frickin' what's his name? The guy
Nicholas.
Holt, yeah.
Yeah.
Um, because I mean, his character in that show, like, is so bad, and their relationship is so toxic, but, like, I don't know. I mean, the show I thought was compelling, more compelling than this, but they just gave me that kind of energy where you're like, are they gonna survive this? Maybe not. I don't know." But it gave me those vibes. I don't know if that's a diss to The Great, though. In my mind, I guess it would be. But, yeah,
See, I just can't picture Nicholas Holt as this guy. What's his
oh,
name? Brandon? Those 2 don't mesh.
Brandon Birmingham. Disgusting.
See, okay.
Ugh.
I did not like him, but I found him more palatable than I can't remember his name, but the hero in Prisoner of My Desire.
Oh god,
Because the
what was
hero
his
in Prisoner of My Desire not just, like, rapes her a couple of times, but, like, essentially tortures her with sexual violence and humiliation, and then
Yeah, oh,
goes
see,
on to,
you
like,
don't like the humiliation thing. I thought this man
well,
was
hang on,
worse than this
and then
guy.
ruin his life, or her life rather. Like, he makes her life a living hell, and at no point does he
Warwick.
have Warwick. Warwick, my enemy.
I guess that's the only way you should ever say Warwick, because that name just inspires
It
that
does.
Warwick.
It does. It rolls off the tongue.
It
Um,
it grunts up down Warwick.
yeah.
Growls.
At no point did he show any kind of remorse or growth, with the exception of, like, he didn't kill that guy at the end, but even then, we needed you to kill that guy, so that loses points
So
with me, if anything.
bloodily. We needed him to kill that man so violently.
Whereas Brandon okay. This is where I think my warning that, rape is never okay, and that anything that isn't an enthusiastic yes means you should stop
Mhm.
and check it, etc., etc.
Mhm.
Rape is bad. And now we're gonna get into the nuances of this as, like, a plot device,
I
okay?
just did
Multiple
not
things can be hang on, because I think the first sex scene is fascinating.
I hated it so much.
Sure, I think you're supposed to.
Yeah, but I hated him so and there was I was
I
never
think you're
going to
supposed to.
after he was like, "Oh, you're a virgin? Okay, boom." And I was like, "Yeah, no." Like, and again, like, I knew that rape was gonna be in here, but the way that he confronted it and then was just like, "Oh, I wonder why." I'm like, "You are the biggest idiot I've ever encountered."
I think
She's sobbing and, like,
sure.
I was it and then he just
And I think that it stems
ugh.
partially from the time period. I think it's being written at a time when, like, the sexual revolution is on the rise, but a lot of the women who are reading this kind of thing
Mhm.
are like middle-aged housewives or like yeah, like women who are not necessarily fully gung-ho feminist movement, yay sexual revolution. And so you get into this gray area of like this kind of forced sexual awakening, but because it's rape, that like what's the word I'm looking for? Kind of excuses them from the guilt.
Mhm. I just never found I just did not gather any of her enjoyment from any of this.
She didn't.
I mean there I know there were a few times when she was like craving his touch or whatever, but I didn't pick up or like I it didn't really feel like a book where she was like just waiting to be unlocked, like her sexuality.
I don't think that she was, but she never would have gotten to the point where she was if not for that. And again, I don't think that this is true of real life. Rape is not
Yeah.
it does not unlock sexual desire, etc. All of that is
Yeah.
untrue. In the context of this book, I think that the plot device was this is the only mode through which we can get to a point where she can experience that sexual awakening because she had to be pregnant, she had to be forced into that marriage.
I just don't even think she had a sexual awakening. I think it
I
was
think she
all
did
like
at the end, or not the end, but that last quarter of the book.
I mean, I get it just did not work for me. Like in what it was trying to do, I did not
I
feel
think the
that
whole
like she
second
got
half, she's like, I don't know why he's not into me, but I'm sure gonna make him be into me, and is doing her whole, dressing up
I
and
just
kind
didn't
of.
understand why the fuck she was into him. Like I didn't understand like I just never saw like any redeeming qualities from him and it just felt like Stockholm syndrome and like I was just not convinced that she like had shown me that she didn't hate him. I don't know.
I disagree. I do get the
Mhm.
Stockholm syndrome feeling. I get that. I think this was kind of what I was talking about earlier. The way that, and again, I don't like Brandon, but the way that he kind of stepped up is a step up from Warwick for me. Is that he talks a lot of game and he almost never, sometimes, but almost never follows through. Like he loses his temper and he gets angry
Mhm.
and he's mean, but he keeps saying things about how he's going to threaten her. He starts off after the forced marriage by being like, you're going to be nothing but a servant in my home and I'm never going to have sex with you, blah, blah, blah. And then proceeds to like go get her a ton of fancy dresses and at
He
no
just
point
felt
follows through on any of his
see,
threats.
to me then it felt like wishy-washy. Like I preferred Warwick because like if I'm promised something, like I'd prefer
It
to
read
be
much more to me
delivered.
as like his pride was pricked, and that's annoying in a
Mhm.
real life man. But again,
Mhm.
I'm talking about a
Yeah.
character. It read to me as he's upset and he's feeling
Well,
brash and
that's
on
what
the
it
back foot, and
was.
he just
Yeah.
lashes out, but he never has actual like malicious intent most of the
Mhm.
time. He does do a few things, and then obviously there's the initial rape. Although notably, the first time was a miscommunication, which doesn't make it not rape, but it
But not
is
even just a
different from a malicious one.
miscommunication. Like I don't even like I think it was a miscommunication when he first like entered her
Yes.
and then he could have been like why are you in this circumstance to where you're like giving me up your virginity? Like it just seemed to me that
Well, at that point, he still thinks she's a prostitute, though. He's just confused why she's
how
not
can you be a
charging more
virgin
money.
prostitute?
Well, that's what he's like, why are like she could have
I
gotten a
know.
lot of
And then
money
he
for
was
her
just
virginity. Why didn't
I
she
just
ask
think
for it?
coupled with the fact that she's sobbing and when he at first thought she was just like playing a game, like that I guess is understandable. He thought she was like cat and mousing it. But when she's sobbing, pushing him away, telling him no, and she's also a virgin. I mean, sir, get the two marbles you have left in your
I mean,
brain
I don't think he's
and
a good
smash them
person at the
together.
beginning of this book, but I was expecting a lot worse going in. I was expecting some like intentional malicious violence that I don't think that I saw to the extent I was expecting based on what I had
Yeah.
heard about this book.
I think the process of reading it was an intense, malicious act of violence against my soul. I just like again, like it wasn't like disregarding all of that like problematic stuff. Like take away
Sure, because we haven't
all of it.
even gotten into the like glorifying
Yeah.
the old South.
Yeah,
And
no,
I
like
don't even
take
know that we need to. I think we can
I
just say
don't want
that was
to.
really bad.
I don't want to
Yeah,
because I
let's
can't
just
even
leave
believe
it there.
Ashford McNabb had to even read. I was like, I don't like that. And
Yeah,
so
fair.
I'm like, take away all of that. If you
Sure,
just give me that plot,
sure.
it still didn't interest me. Like I still wasn't compelled. I was like, they're just at his house. And I was like,
Have you ever seen There's a review of Pride and Prejudice on, like, Letterboxd or something that's, like, 1 star, it's just people going to each other's houses.
That's honestly I don't feel that way about Pride and Prejudice, but I feel that way. Like, they were
I don't
like,
think so! There was a whole murder mystery in there!
and I was like, "Come on." I was just like, "No,
No, I was kinda living for the
I'm
murder
so
mystery.
tired."
I was
I
like,
was like,
"Who is it?"
"Sybil?" I was like, "I knew who it was." Well, actually, I was like, "It's one of 2 people," because I was like, if that guy's actually dead, then it's the other one. But if the guy's alive, I didn't know if she actually killed him. I mean, she didn't. But I was
That's
like,
so funny. It did not occur to me that it would be one of them. I assumed that it was, that other guy, the slave owner who tried to assault her, and they
"Oh,
mentioned he'd been
Barrick
hanging
or
around.
something with a B." Yeah,
Yeah.
I was always worried that she actually killed that guy.
Oh, I assumed she never did.
Yeah, so then that just kinda, like, stuck in my
Oh,
mind, and
sure,
so then
sure.
I was like, "Meh." And then there was, like, something with her dress when that
Mhm.
Louisa came with the dress, I was like, "Oh." So and again, I still kind of thought it was the William uncle guy,
Oh, interesting.
cousin.
You
It's
put
always
dots
the fucking
together better than I did.
yeah, it's always the fucking cousins, guys. Don't have cousins.
Just
I
don't
say as I
have
love
them.
I say as I love my cousins, but they're also not trying to marry me
Well,
or
that's
do
helpful. That's
anything,
helpful.
like, non-consensual to me.
Sure.
So, I was just like, "Of course, her cousin." And then when he, like, went to her uncle's house and he was like, "Yeah, I wanna go teach at a school, and it's just a brothel." I was like, "Oh, honey. Oh, Heather." I was like, "Girl." And I was like,
Heather
"Yeah, stab
yeah.
him. Stab him good."
Heather wasn't
Ugh,
actually, 2 of my notes are, "Stab that motherfucker," and then the
yeah.
very next one is, "Okay, less fun if they than if she actually had stabbed him, because he just falls on the knife."
Yeah,
And I
that's
get it,
true.
she has to be innocent, but
Yeah.
kinda just wanted her to stab him.
Oh, yeah, I did. I was ready.
I mean, Heather, eh, not one of my favorite characters,
No.
but there were times that I found her very interesting.
There were a few times when she was like, "This guy is really gonna be giving me all this shit," and she, like, said she wasn't gonna, like, take it, and then she just committed to, like, getting him to, like, want her, and I was like, "Well, that's not the path I would have chosen." I would have chosen a gun.
Well, sure, you would have chosen violence, but you're
Yeah.
not the heroine of an
No.
early 1970s
Thank
romantic
God.
novel.
Thank
And
God.
the whole point is that they bring down toxic masculine males
I just don't
with
think she
their
brought him
femininity.
down. Like, I think he just won. Like, I get the last chapter or, like, I mean, these chapters were long. So not even, like, the last, like, few pages where she's, like, looking at his, like, mother's portrait, and she's like, "Women battle all this stuff, and we keep it on the inside, and then men don't know what we do
I
for
mean,
them." And I
I
was
think
like,
that dude was
"Cool."
whipped fairly early on.
I mean, I think he was obsessed. I never got the, like, any emotions from it.
I don't think that it was a healthy level by any means, but I got the way that he was obsessed with her very
I mean,
very
I think
early.
I know he was obsessed with her. I mean, he was like, he had one night with her, and he was like, "I'm gonna keep you forever,
Sure.
but I'm still gonna marry this other one,
Yeah,
and
but
I'm
I
gonna
think
have
there
you,"
was
and
also
then
a
all
level
this.
of tenderness that developed fairly early on that he just didn't know what to do with.
He can take his tenderness and shove it up his ass. Because
I know, but I'm saying from a structural POV.
I guess I don't know.
I'm not disagree I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah. Like, I know
I
you don't
get
like
it.
him either.
I
Yeah,
also do not like him,
yeah,
but I just reading from a more academic lens,
mhm.
that was very much a, like, she wins by being herself.
I just don't think. I mean, like, I get where it's like that's what it's supposed to be. I just did not feel that way.
I mean, sure.
Like,
Sure.
I was like, the only one who won is like I don't even know. No one won. There was I guess it was the uncle. I didn't mind the other uncle until like the Uncle Joe or
That
something.
man did not win, he was married to that
No,
woman.
I know he didn't win. He's not a winner. But again, like where I liked the crocodile man or the alligator man and Whitney My Love, apparently having a weird
Oh,
attachment to
to uncles.
yeah, but again, like he like stood by and watched that horrible Fanny just like abuse
Sure he did.
Heather, so like I don't like him. But I was like, if there's anyone who I'd like want to have a chat with, maybe him. And George. I didn't mind George.
George was a good guy. Personally,
He was
I like
he
Jeff.
was so uh, yeah.
I thought Jeff
I
was
just liked
fun. There's
I
something
liked
about
George
those.
because he was so distraught.
I mean, that's
Like,
valid.
to
He
me,
was.
I felt that he was distraught. He was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe that we found a virgin and we sacrificed her to our captain." And
He
he
was
was
going through it.
so
There's that scene where he's drunkenly talking to a cat.
yeah.
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 Yeah, he was going through it.
Yeah. Like, I felt his anguish.
See, I was on Jeff's side of things,
Mm,
who is notably kind of he's that character archetype of, like, the second hero in a series, but he really reminded me
yeah.
of the brother in Whitney, My Love, also.
Oh, I like Steven. It's Steven. Is it Steven?
I don't know. Uh, those are, like, the
Steven
same
Jeff
character in my
Jeff
head.
gave me sleazy vibes.
Oh, no, I thought he was very charming. I thought he was really sweet to her.
I was like, "You
Except that
seem
one
like"
time he kinda made out with her, and I was like, "What's happening in
yeah,
this
that,
show?"
and then he was like, "Yeah, if, like, you wouldn't be with, like, my brother and we'd be out here alone, I'd be, like, getting it on with you." And
I
I was
mean,
like
fair enough.
I was
She's a
like,
sexy
"Jeff?"
lady. Everybody wants to have sex with her.
She's a sexy
She's
lady.
so
She
small.
was, like,
She
18. She was,
is
like,
very,
17 when
very
this
small and very young. She's also
ugh.
pregnant for a lot of this book, but every man she meets
And then that
is
baby
so
was
down
it
bad to the point of
that
violence.
that baby, like, slip slided into this world and then was never seen again. Like, we saw him a
What?
little bit,
Yeah,
but,
he
like,
was there a lot.
I did not get enough interaction with the
I
child.
mean, he was a baby.
I know,
It
but,
it's
like
it the baby's there a lot. He's nursing, he fucking hates Louisa, there's a whole bit where he doesn't wanna go to Leah because he likes his dad so much.
I just didn't I mean, I felt no emotional connection to this. Like, I felt no connection to anything I was reading. Like, I was so far removed. It's like, "Please, God, make it stop." So, I just yeah, I mean, am I 100% like, if I had a polygraph and it was like, "Do you regret reading that?" I don't know what I would say. Like, do I regret it? Do I not? I don't know. Because, like you said, like, it's nice to have it under your belt to, like, know. But again, it is comforting to me because I will never read a book that I hate more than this one. So, like,
I feel like you've
that's
definitely
nice.
said that about books in the past, though.
No, I think this is a different level. Like, this is just nothing will be
I
worse. It
mean,
was,
you
like,
also
500
gave The
pages.
Flame and the Flower sorry, Flowers from the
Yeah,
Storm
yeah,
1 star.
but I liked that one better than this one. My 1 stars contain multitudes, okay? Okay?
I feel so weird rating, like, Prisoner of My Desire, I gave 3 stars, and it's 'cause, like, I feel similar I'll probably end up
Yeah,
going 2 rather than 3 just because there were so many kinda more
yeah.
or I guess there were more different problematic elements to this one that I
Well,
just
that's
didn't.
I had a really hard time reading that one, I agree, and then it really fucked me up when we read the Lorraine Heath one, because,
Oh,
like
yeah.
because we gave that one 2. Like, I originally gave it 3, and then I was thinking, I was like, "Well, I enjoyed, um, Prisoner of My Desire more than Lorraine Heath one," but I really liked a lot of, like, the first half of the Lorraine Heath one, like, I was really vibing with it, and then it just, like, went off the
Sure.
rails. Um, but then, like, I that was my favorite like, in quotation marks, like, in the series that I read because the other ones were just worse somehow. Um, and so, like, I think I was like, I have to give it 3 because I gave the other one 2 that I technically liked that one more, but, I mean, 2 feels right for that one.
Yeah, rating
Um,
series is always hard because you wanna compare them
yeah.
to each other, but
Yeah,
then you're not comparing them to other books.
exactly, like, so it felt wrong giving the first 2 books the
Sure.
same rating, but, like, in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things, I think that's how it would be. And then what else have we read?
I
We
don't
had The Dreaming of You. That one I'm pretty confident in my 2 stars. Like, to me, that was teetering between 2 and 3 the entire or, like, it had, like, a little bit of a 4, like, during the masquerade. And it's, like, I can, like, sometimes I, like, visualize my, like, rate scale of, like, where it's,
Mhm.
like, at, like, throughout the book. And so, like, that one I could, like, see, like, where I ended up, where I was. But Prisoner of My Desire, that was, like, how
Well, I feel similarly
yeah.
about this one
This
because
one?
it was so like, I was interested even when I was
Mhm.
uncomfortable. I was so, like, for the same reason with Prisoner of My Desire, I was like, I want to keep reading it even though
Mhm.
I'm not enjoying this one I think just had generally, this isn't like a rule, but I think generally with old school books, if it has a lot of problematic stuff, I'm never gonna give it above 3 stars.
Yeah.
There might be some exception to that if I read a book that
Mhm.
is just so truly phenomenal, but, like, if you're
Mhm.
glorifying the Old South and slave like,
Yeah.
I just, like because mine is all based on emotions, and if I am,
Mhm.
like, so uncomfortable for that much of the book, it's not gonna get above 3, but I don't know that
Mhm.
I think it's worse in some ways than Prisoner. I'll probably end up giving it 2, which is weird because I gave the Lorraine Heath 2, and those are 2 very different
Exactly.
experiences.
Right? It's so hard because, like, yeah, like, I had fun with Prisoner of My Desire. I
Yeah.
liked watching her run around that castle, just, like, doing her thing, and that guy just being like, "What the fuck
It's
is
just a
happening?"
truly
Like,
bizarre reading
yeah.
experience.
Yeah. I mean, I did not like the ending. Beheading should have happened.
Sure.
A guillotine should have been invented. Again, I just think I had fun. Like, and again, like, it was just so weird.
It was weird.
Like, it was so unique. Because, like, this
Mhm.
one, it was a very, like, plot that you have seen before, which, I mean, obviously, because this is the book that all
Well,
the
yeah, I was
plots
gonna say,
are,
at the
like,
time,
based
it was
on.
not a plot that
Yeah.
had
And so for, like, reading it now, like, she starts with a terrible family and then, like, meets the guy, and then I was surprised that she, like, went back to the terrible
I was
family
too.
and that they, like, took her to find this guy. I was like, I thought Fanny was just gonna make her rot in shame. I did not expect Fanny, and then he paid Fanny. I was like, "Sir, no. That's not where you give your grace to Fanny," and she was like, "What the fuck do you
In his
mean?"
defense, he was trying to make sure that she wouldn't come try to, like,
Yeah, so, like, I
hang
get
out with
that, but
them.
also you could have just killed her. Like, at that rate.
I mean, those are 2 very different things.
I would always support murder than killing off a villain. Or no, that is wrong. I would always support murder than paying off a villain. Like, there was another one that I
It's
read
just that, like,
recently.
murder will, depending on who you ask,
Yeah.
eternally damn your soul, and also
Yeah,
is,
but
like,
so,
gonna
like,
get you hanged.
if I were to write, like, my, like, Bible, paying off the enemy
It's just
to,
that
like,
murder
go
is
live their
illegal and
life.
also horrifically morally wrong.
I just think if I were in parliament, I would also make paying off, I mean, technically, like, bribing is not necessarily legal, but, like, I would make the fact that you just cannot pay off. This is also, there was a book I can't remember what it was, but they just, like, he went through all this shit to, oh yeah, I remember now. Went through all this shit to prove the guilt of a character, and then he just let her off. And I was like, "Sir, how could you do this to me? We have spent so long," and she was a villain. She was bad. Like, bad things were done. You will experience this in 3 to 5 business days.
Oh, okay. Might be longer than that. I have no motivation to read.
That is
There's a
also true.
reason I've
We are
only
traveling,
I finished one book this month, and my
and it
family
was
has
this
been
one.
gone for a few days, so in my defense, I've been watching very hot, mostly European men drive very, very fast cars.
That's me, but an Australian boat captain on below deck,
One of the
down
race car
under.
drivers is Australian.
Mm, I just see, I because, like, I have been the same like, I was not reading a lot. I think it was, like, the end of July really where I was not reading, I was just watching below deck, like, constantly. And I just had, like, no compunction. I was like, "I don't wanna read," like, nothing. That's why I started the Ravenels.
Mhm.
Because I was like, "I need something that I know will be good."
Sure.
And so, like, I'm not, like, reading, like, I'm reading them in order, but I'm not, like, strict about it, like, I'll
Mhm.
break up, like, if I need to read something else. But it's nice to always have that to come back to because,
Mhm.
like, I know they're pretty much gonna slap,
Right.
and I'm enjoying them even more this time. I listened to Cold Hearted Rake 2 times in a row. Like,
Start it over!
I did, because I like, because again, like, for my experience, a random tangent for that book, I, like, started it, DNF'd it. I was
Mhm.
like, "Horrible guy, never will recover." And because there are a lot of reviews that are, like, prominent for that book that hate that
Yeah, a
one.
lot of people hate
Yeah,
Devin, which I think is
yeah,
fascinating.
I love that
I
man.
love Devin.
Yeah, and so, like,
He's not the best of the Ravenel heroes by any means, but
he's getting up there for me.
wow.
I really,
Wow.
yeah, I really enjoyed it, and so I DNF'd it the first
I
time. I got,
mean,
like, an hour in.
not when his brother West is right
See,
there.
I have an issue that I love West, but that book is my least favorite in the series. I know. I know. I don't
Why
like the
did the
plot
sound I
of it.
just made kinda sound like one of those, like, rubber chickens? Hannah, in editing, can you replay that?
Yeah.
Possibly with slow-mo effect?
Oh,
Just to
yeah.
see what happens?
Oh, yeah, I can.
I love that.
Did you listen to our Speak Now episode where I did if you go listen to the, Better Than Revenge part, I gave you the sound effects, like, I made your voice sounds
Thank you. I did
like it,
not.
yeah.
I did not.
So,
We'll be revisiting that.
have fun with that.
I will.
I felt like a
That's solid.
yeah, I felt like a real editor there.
Wow.
Um, see, I love West and, like 'cause that was actually the first book of the series I read, and 'cause it was when I first was getting into historical romance.
Mhm.
And I knew the Ravenels were big and people kept talking about that book. So then I read it and I was like, what is happening? And I wasn't a fan of the plot because it's a plot that it's not like what happened. And so I was like, it's fine to read my review because I like saved it. Like it's still on my Goodreads because when I do that, like I'll just like stack them.
Mhm.
And I was just like, I don't understand, like, the Sebastian guy, like, he seemed, like, real hot. Like, I don't know, like, I'm assuming he's the devil.
This is what happens when you read Lisa Kleypas
Yeah,
out
so
of order.
it's actually really funny to go back and read that review.
Like, what is going on? You know, I'm wearing a
Well,
Lisa Kleypas quote on my shirt right
are
now.
you?
It's
Oh,
the out of print sent me
uh-huh.
their
Nice.
well-read woman is a dangerous creature, which I did
That
not
is
remember is from the Wallflower Christmas.
that?
I looked
What
it
a
up.
wild time to take or what a wild book to, like,
I don't know
take a
what the
quote from.
context was. I would have to go back and, like, find it.
Not a clue.
I googled the quote and it came up as a
Yeah,
Wallflower
well,
Christmas and out of
I
print
mean, she reads to the
kindly.
kids, but I don't know
Yeah, I
what
don't know
else
what the
kinda
maybe it's
reading
just because she's the well-read woman or maybe somebody else is and it's just a fun quote. Who's to say? But
related.
the
I mean,
out of
that's so
print
funny
shirt
that
is very cute.
the Pride and Prejudice quote, the reading one, is said by a
Yeah.
Caroline who, like, doesn't fucking like to read.
Yeah. Yeah.
I find that so funny.
There are several, like, very well-known quotes that in context are actually, like, like,
Yeah.
there's a quote about friendship that's a very
Mm.
popular one, and I can't remember what it is, but it comes from, Northanger Abbey, and the
Mhm.
irony is that it's said by a character she's actually terrible to her friends, like, that's her whole she's only friends with her because she's trying to marry her brother, like, she's not a good person or a good friend, but this, like, quote is so, "Oh, yay,
Yeah.
friendship," and you're like, "Wait, but it's ironic that she
What do
is
you
saying
mean?
it. What do you
Yeah, no,
mean?"
every time I see the reading one, I'm like, "That is just so funny."
Yeah.
Because then, back to the Cold Hearted Rake, yeah, I read that, and then I think I gave it 4 stars when I actually fully read it, and then I reread it just, like, a few days ago, and I was like, "Okay, 5 stars, that was great." And then I was like, "You know what? I'm just gonna read it again."
Fair
So I feel like
enough.
I wasn't, like, paying full enough attention to some parts just because I was like, "Oh, I've already read this," like, and this is just, like, a comfort read situation, but then I was like, "You know what? I wanna know everything that happens."
I wanna know.
Show me. But yeah, definitely recommend the Ravenels for when you just need a good old time via audio.
I will need I mean, we've only got a week till Steamy Lit. Let's
Yeah.
talk about Steamy Lit. I think we've done. Have we
We need to
wrapped
do
up
a
our flame in the
lesson.
flower discussion?
We
Oh, I
we need
forgot
to do a
about a
lesson
lesson.
and then steamy lit.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Oh my god.
my lesson. Well, this is not my lesson. Like an hour into this book was my lesson by far is don't read this fucking book.
Hannah.
But my actual lesson was monologuing about being a good husband does not a good husband make.
I
Bombastic silence.
I don't like have a lesson to compete with that. I feel like the lesson is if you think you killed somebody, you should let your husband know.
My only other one was sometimes you gotta just laugh hysterically
I mean,
and stab
facts.
people.
Facts.
Because she laughed hysterically a few times, and I was like, yeah, queen. Sometimes you just
I
gotta
did read,
laugh.
it wasn't on Goodreads, but I had read a review of it where they were talking about, like, Heather scared them sometimes, like, she seemed very out of her mind when she was with him, and I was like, "When?" And the
Yeah, I could
example
see
they
that.
gave see, I didn't see that at all, I thought she was very rational. She would
Oh
get,
no,
like,
I think.
mad when he
Oh,
would do stuff.
I could see her just being like, I am so like I can't believe what's happening. And, like, because I noted her laughing hysterically throughout the
No, but
book.
they were like, she seemed out of her mind.
Yeah.
And the example they
Interesting.
gave was when he made those kidnapper guys, like, walk out the window, and
Mm-hmm.
she laughs afterwards, like, she just kinda
Mm-hmm.
cracks up, which I was like, "Bet." I also would probably not know what to do in that situation and start laughing, and she was like, "How horrible and sadistic, like, these are clearly uneducated, lower class people who like, it's not okay that they were doing this, but they clearly don't have this way to earn their living, and now, like, their legs are probably broken," and all this stuff about how Heather is sadistic for laughing at that, and I was like, "Girl,
Oh.
that was not what I thought when I read that. I thought it was just, like, the absolute insanity of this
Yeah.
situation was like, pfft.
That's what I
Yeah,
that's how I read it. So, like, I
yeah.
can see her being, like, completely, like,
No, she meant, like, she thought Heather was crazy.
"Oh, yeah, no."
That's not
I
what
mean,
I
I
took from any
do
of these.
yeah, no. Because I think the funniest thing you can do is just laugh at in someone's face
Sure,
when something is like, uh, or run away. Like, someone, like, does
sure.
something and you just run away. I just think
Yeah.
it's so funny. So I really related to her just
I mean, what are
laughing
you gonna
when
do?
she couldn't process
What are
anything.
you
I
gonna
was
do?
like,
You
"Yeah."
just watched your husband make 2 guys jump out a window who were gonna try to kidnap you. Actually, what duke were they talking about? Do you remember that? That lost
No,
me. They were like
dude.
they came to kidnap her and they were gonna take her to some duke. Unless
Oh,
I
it's like
completely was mishearing something, but I
I
think that's
have
what it
the
said.
audiobook or I have the ebook open in my Libby. Let me see.
Watch me have just completely misheard whatever they were saying, and I just rolled with it because
Take your moldy presents. Remove your moldy presents from my house.
that I would like to adopt
Uh,
that into my
I
vocabulary.
I wanna embroider it and put it on my front door. Remove your moldy presents from my house. A certain duke we know, yeah. So
Yeah,
we guarantee you a tidy sum for her, Captain. She'll bring more in her weight in gold from a certain duke we know. It won't matter that she's no virgin even. That's the first mention of a duke
yeah,
in the book.
what duke are they talking about?
Then this one is just below it. It says, she knew if they had been successful in taking her, she would have been used but many times with both of them before she'd ever had been presented to the duke. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe there's a duke in book 2. A certain duke.
That just I'm like, was because the other, like, the family friend guy that blackmailed or, like, forced him to
Yeah.
marry her, he wasn't a duke, was he? He was just a
No.
alright,
No,
so I have
he was like a commissioner. He was like some
yeah, like, in law or
mhm. I didn't mind that guy. You're right. That
he was
one,
nice.
yeah.
He was doing his best.
That's my uncle. That's my crocodile man. He was like, "I hope I made the right decision by letting you marry him." I was like, "You didn't." But you wish you did, so I guess you get a pass. Um,
Yeah, the duke I was like, "Who?"
yeah, there are only 2 mentions of a duke in the book, and it's just on that page, 193, so
Huh.
yeah.
Alright, well, that lost me. However, if that had happened to me, I probably also would just start laughing. Cause what
Mhm,
else are you gonna do?
I agree. God, I
Um,
forgot about that.
I don't remember why that came up. I have no other lessons to offer. I don't know what I did learn from this book. I don't know.
Monologuing naked is always the option.
Oh, I the lesson I took from it is that monologuing naked is a universal experience.
And that's what it's gonna
We've
be.
all been there.
That's what it's gonna be. Monologuing
We've all
naked in the
done it.
mirror is a universal experience.
If
You
you
could
try to say
be
that you've never monologued in the mirror, you're fucking lying.
you can be the crustiest, nastiest person named Brandon in this world, and you will still have the same experience of monologuing naked in your mirror. Yeah, okay. I like that. Because that does not explain this book at all.
No,
We say
I
that, and it's
barely
like, "Oh, that's a
remember that
funny."
happening.
It was visceral. I found the quote and highlighted it and screenshotted it to save forever. I was like, "This man is so unserious." I just really like, I hated it, but I respected her dedication to the Shakespearean,
Yeah,
like,
it was a good
vibes
bit.
and, like, monologues. Because like, because there was one time when he was monologuing, I was like, "Oh my god," like, he's just talking into air, and then she goes and does the same thing.
Yep. Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my
I did
god."
respect the absolute over-the-top drama.
and,
This
and
whole
I had
book was
just
very camp.
yeah, yeah. I had just seen something on Twitter. I don't know who the actress was, but she was giving a monologue
It's always
for like
unfortunate.
yeah, I don't know what it was for something, but it was like an accent on Twitter. No, people were like, "What kind of accent is she doing?" And she was very passionate about this accent that no one could tell what she was trying to do. But that's all I could picture when they were monologuing was them just like being one of two people on a stage, a very low budget set, and just staring out into the audience of 0 people, giving their all. And they really did. They committed to the bit,
I mean, that is
for
not
better or
what
for
I
worse.
pictured, but I respect it.
It was an intrusive thought that
Sure.
that kept
Sure.
returning because they kept monologuing. I just yeah. Okay. Well, we did that. Never will be doing that again. I don't even know what our next old school book is.
It is not until
We
after
had
the
this
break.
conversation. Yeah. And I don't
Doo-ba-doo,
remember
boo. It
the
is
outcome of
Skye
it.
O'Malley
Oh,
by
I have heard
Bertrice
nothing about
Small,
that
which
book.
interestingly was in the article that I was reading
Oh, is
about
it?
bodice rippers.
Oh.
So I think there is also some
Is
rape
that
in that one.
yeah, is that a pirate one?
I don't remember. I don't remember
I
anything
kind of
about
hope
Skye
it
O'Malley.
is. I don't think it would be a pirate one because we have a pirate day coming up.
Yeah, I
Well, in
think we
like
might have
October.
saved our pirate ones for
Yeah,
September.
because
September
September.
19th is
Oh my
International
god, that's
Talk Like a
coming up.
Pirate Day.
Yeah, I
Sure.
need to read the Windflower,
Oh,
and
yes.
then there's like the very big pirate Joanna Lindsay one,
Gentle
Gentle
Rogue,
Rogue.
yes.
Yeah, so those two are on my agenda for sure. Skye O'Malley. Yeah, I haven't heard anything about that one. So
We'll see. But speaking of
yeah.
schedule, because that is
Mm-hmm.
not in a couple of weeks, I don't think. It is on September 8th, because we are taking a break, and we will
Yes.
be back in September. I think September
Mm-hmm.
1st, right?
Yeah, with our Steamy Lit episode, whatever that ends up being.
Yes, which brings us to Steamy Lit.
Woohoo!
We will be there. We are
We will
excited.
be.
It is sooner than I think it
I
is in my
know.
brain. I accidentally scheduled a doctor's appointment today and
Oh
then was
no.
like, "Oh no, that's the day I leave." So I'm gonna have to cancel that.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's because I was like, "Yeah, the 16th, that's fine. I've got nothing going on." And then I looked at a calendar and I was like, "Uh-oh."
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, so that's August the convention itself is the 18th and 19th or 19th. Yeah, 18th and 19th. So Friday and Saturday in Anaheim, California. And it's very exciting. I like did all my like I they sent out an email yesterday about schedules and like all the authors who are going to be there and all the panels and stuff, and I
Mhm.
like highlighted and made my little itinerary. I think it's Harlequin doing a history of the romance novel panel that I'm very excited
Ooh,
for.
that'll be interesting.
So I am very eager to see how they, because they're Harlequin, so like
Mhm.
I'm fascinated how they will talk about that. So yeah, I am pumped. My body's already tired,
I feel
though.
that. I feel that it's
Yeah.
gonna be a long 2 days. However, I
Uh-huh.
have made a lot of friendship bracelets.
I made a good amount with my friends when we went to Ed
Come
Sheeran this
find
past
us
weekend.
and trade some friendship bracelets.
And we have purchased mini like portable mics, and we
Mhm.
finessed a mobile podcasting situation. So however a live episode turns out to be, I don't quite know. The
Yeah,
quality
we have
may be
not figured
terrible.
out.
No, but the microphone that I have, it actually sounds pretty good.
Oh, good.
So
I'm waiting on
yeah,
that to come in.
it's very impressive.
Yay! So we'll have that.
Um, mhm.
If you
And like it
spot
really
us,
blocks out all of
oh, I
the
love that.
blocky noise. Yeah.
If you
So
spot us, come say hi. I think we're gonna try to do like maybe come up with a list of questions and ask everybody a question
mhm.
or something. If you want to,
Yes. No, we're gonna force you
we're gonna force you to answer
to
questions
talk
and
to
be on the
us.
podcast. But I think
Yeah.
loosely the plan is maybe a couple of episodes, like one just a
Mhm.
live episode with us, and then maybe one of like chatting with
Mhm.
different authors and people
Mhm.
at
Yeah.
Steamy Lit. But
And if
nothing
you
is set in stone
and
yet.
if you have like the craziest urge to be on an episode, there's a lot of downtime, and we've got an extra mic.
We've got an extra mic.
We can make
We're
it
ready to
happen.
go.
And an iPad and a dream. So, 2 iPads and a dream.
There you go. There you have it.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It'll be fun. I now have all these random
Mhm.
bracelet making supplies. Don't know what to do with
Yes.
that. I've made 2 Forza Ferrari bracelets for my Formula 1 obsession because I was like, I just have these beads now.
I've been making a few romance or TBR
I
ones.
did
I
make
have
one of those.
the iconic penis,
Of course.
beaded
Classic.
penis, yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, I've got nothing left to add. I've
Uh-uh.
come to the end of my rope. The end of my very elasticy rope covered in beads.
And if that's not a mood, I don't know what is. So yeah, we're not gonna be releasing anything between now and, like, the beginning of September,
Yes.
just, um, to get a little bit of sanity back.
Sure, sure. Not
Because
that I
who
have that much
knows?
faith for
No.
sanity returning. That's been gone for many years now,
No.
but
No.
one can hope.
I know. So
Let's be honest, I'm going to come back to this as a Formula 1 racing expert, and I'm going to just slowly turn the podcast into an F1 podcast. None of you will see it coming.
I
I also
love the
didn't see it coming,
dedication.
and yet here we are. You know what it is? It's hot men. They're
Huh.
also really funny, and so
Aren't
now
they
I'm
in
like,
cars? How do you
oh, Hannah,
I
the
don't
thing about
understand.
Formula 1.
We have just recorded like a half hour talking about Formula 1, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of hockey.
Really just hot men, I think
Yeah,
was
there was some segue that we had. I don't quite know how we got there.
I don't know either, but we got
Um,
distracted by hot guys.
yeah. So whatever we talked about for like the last half hour is going to be in our newsletter. And I'm not going to deal with editing that before Friday, but like it'll happen
Sure,
sometime,
sure.
probably before we leave for Steamy LitCon. Yeah, we talked about the flame and the flower. That's what we read.
We sure did.
And the lesson is that monologuing naked in a mirror is a universal experience,
It's true.
which personally, that's really what I took out of this, was the universal experience of standing naked or getting drunk and talking to a cat. Um,
Also relatable.
yeah,
Also relatable.
like just, airing all of your sins
Mhm.
to a nearby cat.
Sure.
Um, we've all been there. So that's the lesson that we learned.
Lesson complete. Class dismissed.